beautiful day out there. There's my cousin's girlfriend and Marvin. He's like a, what you call it, a Rottweiler. He's like a big stuff too. He's like the nicest. He's like the nicest of dogs. It's pretty blustery cold before we get into this. Definitely got a fire going. It's about +3 there now. It was about 0 there not too long ago. Definitely would have been frost last night. I'm going to have to pull the battery out of the bike. Although I had the bike running yesterday. Checking my antifreeze and stuff like that in there. All right, so before we get into this, I got 2 pages. I didn't get a chance to do WW3 the other day. My schedule just didn't allow for it, and I figured, okay, well, I'll do it today. But before we get into this, if anybody caught this on Facebook, let me know if they know what it was. It was, I can't remember who put it up. It looked like an official site. You know, you got like your friends post things, and then there's all, I wouldn't quite call them ads, but like kind of like a BuzzFed type of thing where it just invades your space, so to speak, whether you want it to or not. And you get some articles, you get advertisements, you get whatever. Well, one was a news headline and said Donald Trump arrested. So I clicked on it, and then this freaking siren comes up, and it's a Microsoft thing, and it's a gray page like that. I couldn't click off it or anything like that. I had to disconnect my internet, and then I was able to close the windows. But I don't know what it was. I thought, oh shit, it's a virus or something like that. And this wasn't my Norton or whatever kicking in. This was something completely different. But it was just like, you're in a, what you call it, like, I guess, must be cold out there. She's walking along with her hand on her ear like this. Unless she's got a phone there, but that signs it's cold out when people walking around like this. But yeah, so if you've clicked on that thing, whatever it is there, like what the heck is that siren thing that pops up? It's kind of like no, this is a taboo site type of thing, and you weren't supposed to see this kind of a ordeal. So yeah, just something I throw out there. So if all of a sudden Donald Trump gets arrested, you heard about it here, a couple of days before it actually happened. Nothing on the mainstream. I mean, that would be all over the news if that actually happened. I had myself peppermint. All right. I got so much stuff to cover here. I'm going to have to kind of breeze through some of it. So, yeah. In topics, this comes from RT America. RT America is weird. It's like completely leftist, right? So they're polling some leftist things. The number one topic, 178 hits on the topics out of the 4 debates, 178 million hits on that topic was Russia. So the American election, the number one thing people are talking about for the U.S. election on these 4 last debates is Russia. That's what's researched the most is on Russia. So that means people are concerned about what's going on with Russia in the United States. In second place, safe spaces on campuses. So it goes from thermonuclear war in Russia and geopolitics to social justice warrior safe spaces. That's the most. Now, something weird going on. It looks like they made an attempt down there to see if they could get Assange. It looks like a couple of days ago, a SWAT team tried to move in on there and take him by force at the embassy. Now, I don't know what the rules are like in Ecuador, but usually when you attack somebody's embassy, that's an act of war on the country, on that country's embassy, right? And yeah, so that goes on. At the same time, we have the DDoS attack in the United States. Maybe that's what I saw the other day. I don't know. Not everywhere in the States, but quite across the States. It didn't affect me up here. Like the internet, I'm pretty sure was on all day yesterday. Although I don't go on the internet till after supper type of thing. But yeah, it was across the States. Now this comes on the heels of Joe Biden. Again, when we connect dots, I mean, can you prove it? No, but the coincidence, the coincidence. Joe Biden saying, yes, we're going to send Russia a message at the time of our choosing. And again, when the reporter asked, will the people know about it? And he goes, I hope not. Well, maybe that was the hope not. Hopefully, if that's all it was, okay, not quite so bad. But then you hear about the October surprise. Well, would we be surprised if the if the internet went out permanently from an EMP or some sort of cyber attack? The banking systems went down, etc., etc. Again, that would be probably the best way for the bankers to get out of it is a cyber attack. Because if we go to war, people are going to rise up against them. They won't take it. The cyber attack, I don't know. Yeah, you can wipe out everybody's accounts and everything like that, but then you have to find somebody to blame it on because they don't. It won't be like a cyber attack. Oh, somebody did. Like with a real cyber attack, usually you never find the perpetrator. Because if they could find out who it was that quickly, there'd be no such thing as spam, right? So it's most likely, I think, the DHS and stuff like that, and the CIA doing it. That's my guess. I don't think it's the Russians doing it. They could be the Russians doing it. Again, they do have the technology to do that. There's no doubt about that. Likely, I don't think so. I don't think so. The Chinese, yes, I do believe they would do that. But the Chinese don't hack things to take them down. Chinese do espionage. They want to steal your technology so they can reverse engineer it for themselves. That's what the Chinese do. So, the North Koreans, I'm not too worried about the North Koreans. Yeah, so that comes along, and again, it's only been a couple of week or so ago since the United Nations got the keys to the internet, and we see all this crazy stuff starting to happen. Coincidence? I don't know. Up here in Canada, CETA has failed. I was kind of happy when I saw the lady negotiating the deal, walking out of the building almost in tears there. I'm like, good, don't let that thing go through. That's going to, like, NAFTA was bad enough. CETA is going to be worse for Canada. And, yes, I know what you're saying. Well, it was Harper that brought into CETA. Yes, like I said, new boss, same as the old boss. Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership. Justin Trudeau is full steam ahead on that. Where's the transparency? There is none. Again, if you watch CPAC, that's all they're talking about is Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, CETA. The other thing, and I will bring up, I'm probably going to come to it down the line here. Don't start. Anyway, I'll get away from this. The other thing was, I was watching CPAC, and they were talking about, here in Canada, about, I go upstairs, I just get away. That phone rings 100 times before it goes to the machine. And they were talking about sanctions, how Canada's carrying out its sanctions. It looks like we're trying to revamp our ways to do sanctions so that when our allies do sanctions, is it done? It's done. Oh yeah, say hi to Elvis. That was my mom's. It was like mom was like, hi, Elvis stuff all over the place. She was like the biggest fan, right? So, anyway, yeah, so they're talking about, okay, well, if we do sanctions, what are some of the repercussions going to be for Canada, yada, yada, yada. And it didn't sound like much of a conversation, but I listened to it for about 20 minutes or so. And what I got out of it is, the one guy was trying to figure out how many people do we have sanctions on, how many countries, what are the circumstances, like are we just going to put sanctions on one another? Basically, they didn't say it out loud, but basically, when the States put sanctions on Russia or Iran or whatever, do we just do the same as them, no questions asked? Like, what is our responsibility? What is our criteria to do collective sanctioning? Which I don't think we should be doing that at all. Now, that's one of the things that John Kerry talks about is that everybody has to do the sanctions, like they're telling all of Europe to do sanctions against Russia. Meanwhile, the state still does business with Russia on some ends, right? But nobody else can. But anyway, you get the idea. So, are we getting ready to ramp up more sanctions against Russia? Again, Trudeau, he's kind of nowhere to be seen these days. Like, he does all these public. Like he still thinks he's in college or something. Oh, I'm going to go visit these people here to make myself look. You've already won the freaking election. Now get to work. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm against CETA, and Rhonda Ambrose, the leader of the Conservative Party, was saying it's time. When that CETA failed, they're like, it's time for Justin Trudeau to get on a plane and go to Brussels because it's that one area in Brussels and good for them because it's going to be bad for both. It'll be great for the corporations, like always, but bad for us, right? Again, giving more. I don't like the idea of people over there being able to decide the laws here. I really don't like that. But anyway, you get the idea. Justin Trudeau kind of, he's on vacation all the time. Like, what the hell? Anyway, U.S. shadowed 3 Chinese vessels in the South China Sea under the freedom of navigation thing. Now, here's something interesting about the freedom of navigation claim that the United States making. Now, take this one with a grain of salt because I haven't verified this one, but if it's true, it kind of really, well, they never signed it. So how can they make the claim if they've never signed it? You know what I mean? You can't be in there. And again, the disputed area is basically been going on for like 300 years. Now, with what's going on in the Philippines, if you haven't, Rodrigo Duterte, I mean, this guy, he must think he's bulletproof or something. He's a dead man now. Basically, he has ditched ties with the U.S. See, we're now moving towards... And the thing is that's what needs to happen is, and this is what the U.S. foreign policy does not want, is for the people in the area, like, they don't want Japan. If Japan and China were to work together and try to resolve their differences, which they're going to hate each other forever, that's fine. But if they could make it, if those two regional actors in that area were to set the example that, okay, we have our differences, but rather than saber rattle with the Navy and stuff like that, maybe we could do like, again, the Philippines has stepped up here saying, well, you know what, we're going to work with China. You know, and it would be benefit for them, no doubt, no doubt. Asian countries, like I've said before, I don't know what it is with the Asians, they hate each other. They're like, you know, one village away from each other, they hate each other. It's just the way Asians tend to be towards each other. There's no shortage of bloodshed in those areas. So if you can get any form of cooperation between one country and another, Philippines and China, and that's a big strategy taken out there. Like if Philippines went neutral on the whole South Pacific deal, which I think that's probably, I think they're doing it out of self-preservation. Duterte, he's a bit of a loudmouth and a loose cannon, but he's not stupid. He knows what's going on in his country. He is a dictator, there's no doubt about that. Again, about 3,000 people have been killed under him since he's taken power. But he's just eliminating people. He's not even bothering with rule of law. It's just like, if the drug dealers take him out, because they're probably CIA anyway. You know, so obviously that's how he's cleaning up his country. He's not going to go for the, well, we got to find the evidence. It's like, if you find them in a drug field, kill them. You know, like just send the choppers over, burn the fields, you know, kill them. And that also means drug addicts and everything. I mean, I don't. There's not too much rule of law. There's a trial. This is a dictator. You know, there's no doubt about that. But he has basically cut ties with the United States pretty much. So that we'll have to keep an eye on. The United Nations has put a weapons embargo on Sudan. Now remember, Sudan is one of the 7 countries that they wanted to take out in 5 years, you know, while they're trying to kill the petrodollar. That's one of the countries, so again, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Okay, so those 9,000 ISIS fighters that the United States gave free passage out of Mosul were basically being, what I've been saying, it's ISIS has been basically corralled, like, call it the biggest herding, you know, competition in history, where they're trying to herd all these jihadists and stuff like that. You know, most of the ones that are already led by the CIA and the Mossad are already in Syria, and they're staying in Syria. But the other ones on the outskirts that are actual, what you would call actual jihadis, not mercenaries, they want to get those guys in on there too. But they don't need them in Iraq. That's why they're pushing so hard to get them into. They're pushing them from Mosul to Raqqa, and then from Raqqa they can push them into Syria to Aleppo. That's what I think this whole offensive is about. With well, one of the things I think Iraq probably pulled this offensive out of the hat, and I don't know if the United States was actually ready for this because, like, they give them the passage, and then if they double cross them, okay, well, we'll get 9,000 of them out in the open, then we'll just slaughter them with A-10s and stuff like that. And again, the States isn't really in there. They have some guys in there on the ground, but they don't really have. I think what those guys are doing is escorting the guys they want to Syria. That's my hunch. I can't prove it, but that's my hunch. But that said, the Iraqi guys, you know, they're making sure that they're going to follow that line to Raqqa, from Mosul to Raqqa, then from Raqqa they're pretty much, I think they're like less than 200 miles from each other. They'll be in Syria within the week and fighting there. Problem is Assad is about to take Aleppo. They completely have Aleppo surrounded. So it's just a matter of moving in now. It's not going to happen overnight, but when Assad said a couple of weeks ago that they're most likely to have, you know, take back, you know, the war's going to be over, maybe not by Christmas, but they're going to, within a couple of months, they're going to take back Syria. If they take Aleppo, Well, Aleppo, once they take Aleppo, they've taken one of the bigger cities. Then they've got Damascus and Hama. And there's, like Assad said, you're going to lose some areas, you're going to gain some areas. But if they can take Aleppo, that's a big stronghold. Once they got that out, then everything else kind of falls apart, right? So that's what's going on now. And, of course, the Russians have a no-fly zone over Aleppo. And they also have, the defense systems and everything like that. So, really, it's not a matter of if they're going to take Aleppo, it's just when. Now, this one, again, we've seen it, don't be afraid to go over some of my older World War III updates. I'll see what I'm doing for time. Because some of the stuff, I might even have to do this as two separate things here. But one of the things that we saw was F-18s in Iraq painted up in Russian colors. Now, this one, again, I can't substantiate, but take it with a grain of salt. But there's B-1s and B-2s going to Diego Garcia, that little island, which is kind of a bit of a black ops island, it seems. Some of them are painted all black, obviously. B-1s and B-2s are a black airplane. But some of them are painted in Russian colors. Now, there's no point in painting a B-1 or a B-2 Spirit in Russian colors because the Russians don't have anything that looks like that in the air at all. And that thing can be at 50,000 feet. If you can see it, you'll know what it is. It has a very distinctive shape. But however, the Lancers at altitude could be mistaken for a Tu-160. It's kind of like a smaller version of it, or the Tu-160 is like a bigger version of the Lancer. I can't remember which one came out first. I think the Lancer did. Or it might also look a bit like a Tu-22M at altitude. So if you paint them that light blue with the light gray underbelly or the white underbelly, people might say, well, yeah, there was a bombing run. It was done by the Russians. I could tell by the paint scheme. So why are the Americans painting their B-1s or B-2s if that's going on? So that is an important thing, especially that we just seen this in the past couple of weeks. Now, I know there's some people who say, yeah, but there's aggressor squadrons. Yeah, aggressor squadrons are F-5s painted up like Russian fighter jets to basically come in and, mimic Russian fighter jets, that type of thing. So they paint them up like that. But that's for like the Top Gun schools and stuff like that. In active duty combat, why would they... that could be an explanation. Maybe it's one of the aggressor squadrons there training up the Iraqi pilots so they get used to seeing that kind of colors, that type of thing. It could be, we don't know, but it could also be used, considering the propaganda that, like if your toast burnt this morning, Russia did it, according to Hillary Clinton, that they could say, okay, we'll do a strike on a hospital and make sure you fly around so people can really see the colors of the airplane, but just be at that altitude. And again, at even 5,000 feet, a mile high, you might not be able to tell an Su-30 from especially on a hazy day, you might not be able to tell an Su-30 from an F-18. You know what I mean? You might not be able to do it. But if you see the color, a flash of colors, you might say, oh, it looked like a Russian airplane, So that's what I think could be happening there. We already know about the SAA surrounding Aleppo, and they're going to take it. This one, if you're an American, and it's probably going to, again, here in Canada, they're bringing out new taxes like you wouldn't believe. Taxes on taxes on taxes. That Karl Marx progressive tax everybody out of the wealth thing. Well, Hillary Clinton, another email leak, shows that a guy named Tony James, who is a CEO of BlackRock, which is a Wall Street thing, one of the biggest donors from Wall Street, 100,000 in donations to Hillary Clinton. But they want to put a 3% tax hike, payroll tax, on every American, of course, to tax. They call it a Wall Street tax. Basically, it's a tax for retirement and stuff like that. But basically, it's a Wall Street tax. In other words, to funnel the money back to Wall Street so they can keep doing their Ponzi schemes. So yeah, so that's what voting for Hillary will do for you. Another email leak, Hillary Clinton saying a no-fly zone will kill a lot of Syrians. That's really because, so she knows, once again, she knows what's going on. She knows exactly what a no-fly zone in Syria means, and it's on purpose. She knows what the Russian air defense system is capable of. So the question is, if she knows all this, why would she still go ahead with it? Well, it's simple. And this is what I fear has actually been happened. Now, because of the Odin Plan, Greater Israel Project, what we're seeing now is, like Henry Kissinger said, is a second act of a play. I really don't want to see the third act of this thing. And these are the people that set it up. George Soros, Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Rothschilds, Rockefellers. These are the people that Clinton works for. These are her primary donors, Wall Street, etc. And Wall Street works for the Rothschilds. So, and the oil is basically Rockefeller. So these are the people that are up there. And what play might be going on here, because we see Russia has brought in not only air defense, but all kinds of radar jamming equipment. Right now, if you go to fly in any of the areas the Russians are in, you can put your satellite. They're blinding U.S. satellites, NATO satellites. They can't see what's the Israeli stuff. They can't see what's going on with the Russians. They can't tell what they're doing in there. They're jamming radars. This is why we've seen Su-30s on, like, I think 4 occasions in the last past year chase away Israeli airplanes. I'm sure those Israeli airplanes were probably trying to strike Iran. Why would they be crossing Syria in the first place? Right? Now, they could go around the other side, but I don't think the Israelis would be allowed to go through Saudi Arabia. It'd be too obvious. The Saudis don't want that kind of trouble with Iran. They've already got enough trouble with them. So, to go right through Syria, for the Israelis, pre-Russian Air Force Federation being in there, was no problem. They could go in, do their airstrikes against Iran like they've done a couple of times. But now they can't. And one of the reasons why is they get blacked out. Their F-15s get blacked out as soon as they fly into Syria. And then they got these Russian Su-30s barreling down on them when they're blinded by radar. Like, definitely not something that the Israelis can contend with. And the Israelis have everything the Americans have or better, because they get all the best stuff first. So if the Israelis can't do it, and the Americans can't do it, and NATO can't do it, they can't see what they're up to. And the Russians are bringing in more of this new type of radar. Again, we don't know what it is. We don't know quite how it works yet. And because of that, what we're up against is NATO is blinded. And this is why the no-fly zone hasn't been easy to put in, like in Libya. And Hillary Clinton, when you listen to her speak, she makes it sound like Libya is a paradise right now. It's hell there. It's a Mad Max world there. But again, like, she knows most people aren't going to look into it. Problem is that's the problem. Anyway, keep going. Yeah. So there's quite a bit that Russian Russian warships on 8 or 10 going through the English Channel on its way to. It has the Alexander Kuzanov. I probably said it wrong. Their aircraft carrier filled with a bunch of Su-33s and some of the newer MiG-29 upgrades for naval service. Basically, the new MiG-29s that they've got on this carrier basically are more capable to do ground attack. The problem with the Su-33s is that they're so heavy and it's such a small aircraft carrier that they can't put on a lot of ground ordnance on it, because it's pretty much an air defense only that they can fly with, because they won't get off the deck otherwise. But somehow they're able to do it with these little MiG-29s. I guess they just got a little bit more room to, being slightly smaller and slightly lighter, they get a little bit more. They can get off the deck with the ground-guided weapons, which are on their way to the Mediterranean, and then from there they'll be flying into Syria and doing all that. So you've got UK warships shadowing them, Finnish ships, I think some Norwegian stuff. Everybody's kind of, and of course the Red Scare over there in the UK is that the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming, or you can say the Russians are floating by. The Russians are sailing by, whatever, however they want to spin it. But they do have people nervous there. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. All this propaganda to demonize Russia and how, Russia's scary, so scary and stuff like that. Going back to, like I said, the number one topic, people are paying attention. So it's only a matter of time before people come to the conclusion, we don't want war with Russia. And we're seeing it all over them. We're seeing it in prominent politicians, which it tells you which ones are not in the loop. The ones saying, no, we don't want war with Russia. And it tells you what the media side's on, when, like, CNN's saying, how dare Trump try to say he's going to, work with Russia, and if he wins presidency, before his inauguration, he's going to go meet with Putin to try to calm things down. How dare you do that? That backstabs the Republicans in the back. Well, you know what? I think that the knife is worth it at that point. If you are out there with the, we got to take Russia down kind of mentality, you're a lunatic. You are a lunatic. No, we don't need to go there. Russia can fight back. Their equipment is not substandard. Yes, their high-tech stuff is not as widely available as the U.S. or the NATO high-tech stuff, but their high-tech stuff can go toe-to-toe. It's good enough. It's good enough. Is it the best? I don't know. I think, like I say, who's going to get, is an Abrams tank going to take out a T-90 or T-90 take out an Abrams? Who gets the first shot? That's who wins. An Su-35 against an F-15, better pilot wins. Warships, subs, same thing. In other words, it'll be a slaughter fest on both sides. Again, where we left World War II is where we begin with World War III. And the total body count of World War II will probably be done in less than 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, with just a conventional war with today's weaponry. I mean, the heaviest bombers of World War II were the B-29s, which could carry something like 20,000 pounds of ordnance. That's pretty much, the mid-sized bombers now can do that. No problem. The heavy bombers now carry about twice that. The B-17s carry 8 to 10,000 pounds of ordnance. The average fighter can carry that now. You know what I mean? The firepower and the 500-pound bombs they were dropping in World War II and 1,000-pounders and stuff like that, 250-pounders. I mean, the 250-pounders now are as powerful as the 1,000-pounders back then. It's so much more devastating now. Yeah, from Pew Research, it looks like the Democrats have 1.8 million dead voters, and I don't know if I'm sure everybody on my channel has seen it by now, but if you haven't, Sargon of Akkad, a guy who never covers this kind of stuff, is starting to cover this. Like I say, people are starting to notice the lunacy. And they're showing this Democrat, it's on Alex Jones, it's on everything, who's going around talking about how, we're funding like homeless people, and good journalism, whoever did that. And I mean, these people that go undercover to really expose things, you had a few Democrats now talking about leaked on camera, not realizing that they're being, the candid cameras there, saying, well, he goes, he says, they're busing people from poll station to poll station with fake IDs. This is why they don't want voter ID. Oh, it's not because it's racist and bigots against minorities and stuff like that. No, it's because those people will go vote for somebody 10 times. That's what they're doing. And you got an open admission of this. And again, like everything, you have to take it with a grain of salt. It could be somebody just trying to demonize. But there just seems to be so much fraud going on in the election now that they could cancel the election now if they wanted, just based upon fraud. In other words, this could be leaked on purpose to say, well, look, the Democrats did it. Okay, well, then we're going to cancel the election. You know what I mean? That type of thing. That could be it. Or it could just, but knowing how Democrats are, like, they're no longer, there is no liberals on the planet. They don't exist anymore. Liberals turned into progressives. Progressive is the new term for communism. Communist. But communists have turned Trotsky communist. All these social justice warriors, these people believe in violence against you if you disagree with them. It's like this guy who's saying, well, yeah, we pay these homeless people, these shitbags to go and cause, problems at Trump rallies and stuff like that, so we can pin it on them to say Trump is inciting violence and stuff like that. Meanwhile, it's a Democrat or Bernie supporters. And even the Bernie supporters, and again, I don't think Bernie Sanders is believable at all. He's not an option. He was never an option to begin with. He's basically the same policies as Hillary Clinton, just a little less warmongery, that's all. The guy would, but he's going to go after Wall Street. No, he wouldn't go after Wall Street. I don't even think Trump's going to be able to go after Wall Street. But Trump is not going to win anyway. It's going to be very clearly, if you haven't figured it out, even George Soros said, well, yeah, and when George Soros says stuff, you really got to, when he says stuff, it happens because it's happening for him, for the Rothschilds. He's the go-to guy. So when he comes out and says, yeah, we know that Donald Trump would win in a landslide, but it's not going to matter. We're going to, Hillary Clinton's going to win no matter what. It pretty much is word for word there. And whose voting polls are they using in 16 states? They're using George Soros' own polls, the same ones, voting machines that they used in down there in Venezuela. Look how that turned out. Now, that said, you have to also understand that they are basically, when you go and do your vote, okay, and even if you don't believe in the voting and you think it's right, go do your duty anyway. Take a picture of the voting number, take down the voting poll machine number, and a picture of your vote. That way, when people say they won by Hillary Clinton won by a landslide, Mitt Romney, I think in like 3 or 4 states, didn't get a single vote. Find me a place in the world where every candidate, you can have 100 candidates, they'll all get, somebody's going to vote for them somewhere. Family members are going to vote, cousins are going to vote, whatever. So yeah, it's pretty bad. Russia talking about asymmetrical warfare retaliations on the U.S. for sanctions. And again, yeah, for sanctions, I've already Canadian sanctions talked about on the CPAC. That's the big thing going here in Canada right now. Saudi is pulling 346 million, maybe billion, in U.S. Treasury bonds. So is China. Again, China, same thing. The reason why they built these mega cities in China that nobody lives in, the idea was to build the real estate and then sell the real estate after, but nobody can afford the real estate. But that's so that when the U.S. economy collapses, that they're not holding worthless paper. So the Chinese are dumping it, the Saudis are dumping it. Remember, the Saudis said in 2012, by the year 2022 to 2025, they will sell their oil outside the U.S. currency. Hence, they're being destabilized by the Houthis now. In other words, Saudi Arabia is getting thrown under the bus, but Saudi Arabia is also working backdoors with China, and Russia and Saudi relations are never what you would call, they're lukewarm at best, but the Saudis obviously understand who's going to be taking that region in the near future. It is going to be Iran, it is going to be Russia, and they don't want to go down. So they're going to switch sides like the Duterte did in the Philippines at some point. Countries are ditching the United States. So is the United States going to go to war with the Philippines? Well, they're going to attempt to do regime change that they're already talking about. You know, how, you know, they're propping you up for how bad the Duterte is and stuff like that. But really, does anybody over here worry about what's going on in the Philippines? No. So, you know, why are we there? Why, you know, so if you see regime change that's U.S. foreign policy is regime change. Anybody that doesn't go along with the Anglo-American Empire, here comes my dad. So back down and finish up my video downstairs. I got too much to cover. You want to see Dad? There we go. Here we go. So anyway, I'll just finish up the video. So that said, while this is going on, sorry, there she is. So anyway, I'm going to go downstairs, finish this up. So anyway, while that's going on, the United States has 16 trillion abroad in basically U.S. currency. Okay, so 16 trillion. And that 16 trillion is basically, you know, U.S. treasuries and whatever. So that's a lot of money. If that floods back to the United States, that's going to be pretty bad. There's also a lot of protests over there in the Falklands. Again, you could see the UK go back to the Falklands. Next to that, sorry, I got like two sides of this page. I'm trying to get it all done, ram it all in here. Yeah, Loretta Lynch, you know, the Department of Justice, the one that spent about 2 hours on a plane with Bill Clinton talking about grandchildren, supposedly. Well, it looks like she's now having dinner with George Soros, and you know, to make him happy. Why would the Department of Justice care about making George Soros happy? Well, then that tells you who she really works for now, does it? Another criminal. She needs to go to jail. Same with the Comey from the FBI or whatever, CIA, whatever, making them. And I do believe there is going to be a Department of Justice coup. They do have to go back, get Eric Holder. They have to get the whole establishment going back as far as they can. Housing market is at 1960s levels, so I mean nobody's buying houses. Here in Canada, they're trying to, you know, because China's basically coming in buying all the real estate, and it's failing, right? So what they're trying to do is to stop it. Is they're putting basically, I guess you could say tariffs is find a place to put my camera here. Kind of like tariffs on the housing market. A foreign tax, basically. So that's basically what's going on here in Canada. So the house, there's no millennials cannot afford a house. You know, they can't afford a house. So it's pretty bad. We already talked about Trump trying to talking about meeting with Putin if he gets elected before his inauguration. Something I didn't know, and again, take it with a grain of salt because I don't know if it's 100% true, but I didn't know this, but in 1947, I knew there was a declaration signed. But it was the U.S. that basically wrote the Constitution for Japan, which that might not be that good. Just something to keep in mind, because it also, you know, that seems to be a bit of a problem for Japan. And there's another thing in the 90s when Russia supposedly collapsed, which they never collapsed. They just, you know, sold the resources to pennies on the dollars to the oligarchs, and then they just basically, you know, put all the money into the military-industrial complex. That's why you're seeing all. I mean, if they collapsed 30 years ago, you think they could spend trillions of dollars on their, or billions of dollars on their submarines and air defense systems and aircraft and stuff like that, billions and billions of dollars, just like 30 years later? I don't think so. But apparently, something signed back then was to kind of do the same thing like they did in Japan, where the United States signed basically a Russian constitution thing. I don't know what exactly it is, so I'll have to look at it, but this is what Putin is overthrowing now. So, okay. As far as Turkey and Iraq, yes, the Iraqis keep telling the Turks that back off or we're going to go to war with you. I think Iraq is going to, at some point, once they know they're in a position that they can do so, they're going to ditch the United States. There's no doubt about that. The big one, I'll end on the other one there. And also, too, for Trump, Putin obviously, he's warmed to the idea of Trump, everybody knows that. But so is Kim Jong-un. Yeah, Kim Jong-un's out there saying that, Americans elect Donald Trump if and this didn't come from the North Korean weather lady, which is too bad because she would have said, elect Donald Trump for victory! Yeah. So, yeah, and then there's a whole host of other, people around the world, Saudi Arabia, everything, they're all friendly with Donald Trump. They like the idea of Trump. They don't like the idea of Clinton. But, next to that, if... Turkey, I don't know, Turkey is such a wild card here. Every year, Turkey basically does, their Air Force, they have a disputed border with Greece. And it looks like there was a bit of a dogfight going on between Greece and Turkey. I don't think anybody got shot down. But this was over the Aegean Sea. 2 Turkish F-16s came in to Greek airspace. And they do this about 2,000 times a year sometimes. But this time it took a total of 4 aircraft. 2 more came in, and it turned into a bit of a dogfight. So nobody got shot down. But so if Turkey goes to, I think Turkey in the future goes to war with Greece, Iraq. Well, they're going to go to war with Iraq first, and then Greece. They're already at war with Syria, you might as well say, and then possibly Germany. I do see the Germans at some point, depending on which government they get. If they get the AFD in there. I could see the tensions building because as soon as a right-wing government gets into Germany, if that happens, which I don't think they'll let it happen, but if it happens, then the Turks are just going to let refugees go left, right, center, which will put German tanks on the borders, which will, and I think the Germans, I don't know, the Turk military is, I think, bigger than the German military, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So that's what's going on there. Now, the big one here is, I think, the ultimate setup of what, I can't believe I got it all in one video, what's going on in Syria. Now, we know the Russians definitely back the Syrians. There's no doubt about that. Everybody pretty much figured that out. The Russians have openly said it. They're backing their guy Assad. That's it. That's all. Now, Assad he's gotten 700 missiles and new air defense systems such as the S-300, the Buk missile system, and a few other, like a whole gaggle of air defense to defend. Okay, so now here's where it gets interesting, is that this could be the setup, because Assad, now that he has this air defense system, he's warned NATO airplanes and US airplanes and Turkish airplanes, if you come into our region, we will shoot you down. We're not going to take any, and the Russians have said the same thing, if you try to attack us, you'll be surprised at the range of our air defense. In other words, they could shoot down Turkish airplanes in the middle of Turkey if they wanted. They do have the range pretty much to do it. Well, maybe not quite that far range, but they got far enough range. So the thing about that is you have an air missile system now that is pretty much unbeatable. It's the state of the art in the world. It's better than anybody else's. Even its older variants are still quite potent, like the S-200 missile system. That's what's shot down the F-117 stealth fighter, which is really a bomber, but in Sarajevo. Was it Sarajevo? I'm pretty sure it's Sarajevo. But anyway, or Serbia. Serbia or Sarajevo. Serbia or... Yeah, it was Serbia, sorry. That I believe shot down the stealth. And that's with older technology. So they were able to do it with that. So we know that the S-200 missile system was capable of shooting down stealth back in the 90s, which the Syrians have. But now they have the S-300 system, which is much more advanced, and the S-400 systems are in the, going to be in the area, which Iran, but because they stalled so long to give Iran their missile system, that by the time they got it, they actually, the S-300 is no longer in production. It's the S-400 now. So there you go. So they got even something better, like that type of thing. But Assad again telling the Turks that because Turkey's, we're going to be invading Syria at will. Again, the Turks, they're doing the craziest. Their government is completely insane right now. And I think insane on purpose. What I've been saying is that, the Russians are going to start shooting down, NATO airplanes and stuff like that and bring us to the brink. It's going to be a bluff call. But I think the airplanes are probably going to shoot down first. I would probably suspect will be probably Turkish airplanes. The reason being, number one, payback's a bitch. So that, you shot down one of our Russian airplanes last year, but we're going to shoot down 20 of yours this year, in one night type of thing. Because as soon as they shoot down one Turkish airplane, the Turks are going to go nuts and they're going to send their whole air force in, and it'll just be a slaughter fest. Now, the thing is this could be the setup that the U.S. foreign policy wants, that the Israelis and the U.S. want, is because if Assad, remember, the amount of times the Syrians have been attacked by the Israelis, the Americans, the Saudis, like that airstrike that took out, like that hour-long airstrike that took out, Assad's guys, also killed Russian intelligence. I think that's why they mentioned it. It wasn't just a bunch of Syrian Arab Army troops that the Israelis are shooting at from across their side of the border. No, they're actually taking out Russian assets. So that's when the Russians get mad, that type of thing. And, the thing is this, that if they've set Russia up to be so solidified with Syria that it could be a bluff call too, that if they shoot down a NATO airplane such as Turkey, whether it's Syria or whatever, then the United States has the green light to then go defend under Article 5. Turkey pulls Article 5. They can go into Syria because they're at war against one, is a war against all, even though technically you might as well say the United States started it with on behalf of the Greater Israel Project. It's this stuff is very open now. And then you could say, okay, well, Russia, we're going in, there's going to be a no-fly zone. It's on. So does Russia back their ally? I think they do, which is not going to be good for us. Or do they say, no, go ahead, take out Assad? That's what I think. I think that's what the State Department is trying to play. Problem is the Russians aren't going to back down. It's very clear that Russians will take it right to the brink. This is a game of chicken that we really don't want to be playing. But anyway, I think I got it all in there, so kind of happy that I did that. So that was 2 pages worth of stuff there, so one thing I'll just end up on saying is okay, my new restructuring of how I do the World War IIIs, yes, they come out a little bit more frequently, but what you need to understand is that I have not changed my research patterns. This is the same research I've been doing, same amount of hours per night, that type of thing, since 2010, so to speak. So the only difference now is that because of the YouTube monetization algorithm attack that everybody was suffering last month, I know at some point they're just going to shut everything down, but it hurt everybody to the point where their algorithm was censoring videos like my video on my cat, or my motorbike, like what in my motorbike videos are offensive. So I think it was just their algorithm was so broad stroke that it was just censoring way too many people. Enough people complained that they pulled back a bit of the censorship, the demonetized, not monetized friendly thing. So they did that. So live to fight another day. But I do understand once they can get that algorithm really selective of who they want to take out, then they'll do that. You can see right now with Assange, they're going after people like him. Again, the United Nations now owns the keys to the internet, so censorship it's not going to happen overnight, but as soon as they figure out how to do it, they're going to do it. That type of thing. So with that going on, again, the frequencies are a little bit higher because, the only thing different now is I write things down. Which some people seem to like, so I'll keep doing that. But what isn't normal is that the amount of frequency that I'm doing isn't because I'm just sensationalizing and doing fear porn. It's because there's that much more happening now. And like I say, as we build up to the election, we're going to see crazy things that we've never thought before seen. Just some of the stuff mentioned in here, like that thing about Donald Trump getting arrested. And then, again, if you saw that same thing too, let me know. And, did it go batshit crazy on your computer too, like big bells and warning, that type of thing? It's kind of like, you're accessing an illegal server or something like that. I didn't want to stay on it too long because I didn't know what it was. I didn't want to crash my computer, right? That type of thing. So if we're going to see things like that. So what the hell is that? On the same day that you have this massive internet blackout. So that's probably maybe what it was that something got leaked ahead of time, something they're planning, maybe, who knows. All I can say is just expect the unexpected. We're going to see bizarre things. I don't know. That could, to me, that internet blackout more likely for me was probably to cover probably a WikiLeaks or something like that. So in other words, internet kill switch that Obama, and they've had it for a while. I mean, Obama's, passed that under the NDAA a long time ago or something else like that. Or that's what CETA and SOPA and PIPA, all that stuff, all these things are about, is to take that kind of control. You're not supposed to see that, that type of thing. So the things that I'm doing, what I'm saying is that don't be afraid to go over some of my older World War III updates because, some stuff I talked about then we're starting to see now. And some of it, might be kind of old, but, how many things have I called right? Quite a bit. But the other thing, too, is you also have to keep in mind is that the frequency that I'm doing these at is not normal. It's not normal. It's not me just sensationalizing for fear porn to make extra money. It's not, yes, it is what I do for a living, sure, granted, but I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing it to keep people informed. I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it, but I do it also to keep people informed. The problem is I can't keep up to the info. There's so much going on. And you can just look at the things that I'm talking about as, these are irrefutable facts on a lot of stuff, like incidents that are happening in the world. Yes, I can speculate. It might go this way, it might go that way. That's speculation. Yes, sure, you're going to have to do some of that. But on the other hand, it's the idea that we're talking about such crazy events. In other words, we're at a time when it's like the Cuban Missile Crisis. If it was only just that bad, it wouldn't be so bad. But right now, it's like it's beyond, beyond anything like that. So anyway, I think I'll leave it at that. It's just something that you should be aware of. And again, how long will I be able to pull these off? I don't know. I'll take it till I can't. Go down fighting, that type of thing. Yeah, the only thing I could say is make sure you have like food and water and stuff like breads and bullets, that type of stuff. Be prepared. Next to that, I guess I'll leave it at that. So if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. We're almost at the end of October, so go find those videos to vote on what to do with the money there. I think GoPro and Green Screen who are in the lead. I haven't checked it in a couple of days, so I'll have to go back and check to see which one it is. But yeah, as soon as we do that, then vote on that. And remember, only thumbs up counts, not thumbs down, so there's no point in putting thumbs down on the video. Even if there's more thumbs down on a video, it's the one with the highest thumbs up wins to spend the money. So go back on those videos. They're short little videos. Won't take you much time. You get to say where the money goes. I'm at about 1,300 there now. Again, thank you so much to everybody who has donated to the channel. I know it's tough times for a lot of people and stuff like that, so I really do appreciate it. And I also, like anything, it's like to get back to people that donate. I don't know how to do it through PayPal, like to send you back a thank you. So I'll do the thank yous here, that type of thing. So that's just so you know, because like I'm a bit of a tech tart too, so I can operate the camera. That's just be happy I can do that, and know how to do an upload. That's don't expect much more than me from that for the technical stuff. But yeah, so again, thank you guys so much for that. Next to that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like, be true to yourselves, be true to others. Always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day. Good day, hi, and welcome. All right, it's a beautiful day out there. There's my cousin's girlfriend and Marvin. He's like what you call it, a Rottweiler. He's like a big suck too. He's like the nicest. He's like the nicest of dogs. It's pretty blustery cold. Before we get into this, definitely got a fire going. It's about +3 there now. It was about 0 there not too long ago. So definitely would have been a frost last night. I'm gonna have to pull the battery out of the bike. Although I had the bike running yesterday, checking my antifreeze and stuff like that in there. All right. So before we get into this, I got 2 pages. I didn't get a chance to do World War III the other day. My schedule just didn't allow for it. And I figured, okay, well, I'll do it today. But before we get into this, if anybody caught this on Facebook, let me know if they know what it was. It was, I can't remember who put it up. It looked like an official site. You got like your friends post things, and then there's I wouldn't quite call them ads, but like kind of like a BuzzFeed type of thing where it just invades your space, so to speak, whether you want it to or not. And you get some articles, you get advertisements, you get whatever. Well, one was a news headline and said, Donald Trump arrested. So I clicked on it, and then this freaking siren comes up, and it's a Microsoft thing, and it's a gray page like that. I couldn't click off it or anything like that. I had to disconnect my internet. And, then I was able to close the windows. But I don't know what it was. I thought, oh, shit, it's a virus or something like that. And this wasn't my Norton or whatever kicking in. This was something completely different. But it was just like, you're in a, what do you call it, like, I guess, must be cold out there. She's walking along with her hands on her ear like this. Unless she's got a phone there, but that signs it's cold out when people are walking around like this. But yeah, so if you've clicked on that thing, whatever it is there, like what the heck is that siren thing that pops up? It's kind of like no, this is a taboo site type of thing, and you weren't supposed to see this kind of a ordeal. So yeah, just something I'd throw out there. So all of a sudden Donald Trump gets arrested. You heard about it here, a couple of days before it actually happened. Nothing on the mainstream. I mean, that would be all over the news if that actually happened. I'm gonna have myself peppermint. All right. I got so much stuff to cover here. I'm going to have to kind of breeze through some of it. So, yeah. In topics, this comes from RT America. RT America is weird. It's like completely leftist, right? So they're polling some leftist things. The number one topic, 178 hits on the topics out of the 4 debates, 178 million hits on that topic was Russia. So the American election, the number one thing people are talking about for the U.S. election on these 4 last debates is Russia. That's what's researched the most is on Russia. So that means people are concerned about what's going on with Russia and the United States. In second place, safe spaces on campuses. So it goes from thermonuclear war in Russia and geopolitics to social justice warrior safe spaces. That's the most. Now, something weird going on. It looks like they made an attempt down there to see if they could get Assange. It looks like a couple of days ago, a SWAT team tried to move in on there and take him by force at the embassy. Now, I don't know what the rules are like in Ecuador, but usually when you attack somebody's embassy, that's an act of war on the country, on that country's embassy, right? And yeah, so that goes on. At the same time, we have the DDoS attack in the United States. Maybe that's what I saw the other day. I don't know. Not everywhere in the States, but quite across the States. It didn't affect me up here. Like the internet, I'm pretty sure was on all day yesterday. Although I don't go on the internet till after supper type of thing. But yeah, it was across the States. Now this comes on the heels of Joe Biden. Again, when we connect dots, I mean, can you prove it? No, but the coincidence. The coincidence. Joe Biden saying yes, we're going to send Russia a message at the time of our choosing, and again, when the reporter asked, will the people know about it? And he goes, I hope not. Well, maybe that was the hope not. Hopefully, if that's all it was, okay, not quite so bad. But then you hear about the October surprise. Well, would we be surprised if if the internet went out permanently from an EMP or some sort of cyber attack? The banking systems went down, etc., etc. Again, that would be probably the best way for the bankers to get out of it is a cyber attack. Because if we go to war, people are going to rise up against them. They won't take it. The cyber attack, I don't know. Yeah, you can wipe out everybody's accounts and everything like that, but then you have to find somebody to blame it on because they don't. It won't be like a cyber attack. Oh, somebody did. Like with a real cyber attack, usually you never find the perpetrator. Because if they could find out who it was that quickly, there'd be no such thing as spam, right? So it's most likely, I think, the DHS and stuff like that and the CIA doing it. That's my guess. I don't think it's the Russians doing it. They could be the Russians doing it. Again, they do have the technology to do that. There's no doubt about that. Likely, I don't think so. I don't think so. The Chinese, yes, I do believe they would do that. But the Chinese don't hack things to take them down. Chinese do espionage. They want to steal your technology so they can reverse engineer it for themselves. That's what the Chinese do. So the North Koreans, I'm not too worried about the North Koreans. Yeah, so that comes along, and again, it's only been a couple of week or so ago since the United Nations got the keys to the internet, and we see all this crazy stuff starting to happen. Coincidence? I don't know. Up here in Canada, CETA has failed. I was kind of happy when I saw the lady negotiating the deal, walking out of the building almost in tears there. I'm like, good, don't let that thing go through. That's going to, like, NAFTA was bad enough. CETA is going to be worse for Canada. And yes, I know what you're saying. Well, it was Harper that brought into CETA. Yes, like I said, new boss, same as the old boss. Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership. Justin Trudeau is full steam ahead on that. Where's the transparency? There is none. Again, if you watch CPAC, that's all they're talking about is Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, CETA. The other thing, and I will bring up